all this conflict about the Spa Theatre. It's been put up, it's going to be pulled down, it's stopped running, and I hear all sorts of things about, you know, the council actually had been paying somebody to do it. And there we've got something on the best position in Felixstowe, and I just don't understand it. But with me today, I've got Mike Nimney, or Michael Nimney, I should say.
Absolutely.
And hello, welcome to you, Michael.
Hello, young Eric. How are you doing?
You are an expert on
No, I'm
these
not. The definition of expert, I can't remember what it is, but it's something that leaks away.
But all I'm trying to say is you know all about
well,
it.
I have been following the issues quite closely for probably the last 8-9 years.
May I say at this point that Michael, or Mike, first, I'm not sure which do you prefer, Mike or Michael?
Well, my mother always called me Michael. My wife calls me Michael when it's trouble ahead. And I actually respond to both names.
You do? Oh, well,
I do.
Well, Mike, as I prefer to call him, that's how I've always known him, gets involved with all sorts of community things. He does an awful lot of volunteering and presenting for our television service and the radio service. He's involved. That's just a minor part of his life. He spends all his days rushing around to meetings that people don't go to, and he goes and represents us all, and he's involved with everything. So I can't speak highly enough of Mike and his knowledge. So I think we can get down to the roots here about the Spa Theatre. So now tell us the basics about
Well,
the
I
Spa.
think what the point we're now at was a decision that was made by the first cabinet meeting of this month.
Yes.
And they have they've brought in yet another consultant.
Yes. Now,
A specialist, a
these
property
consultants
consultant.
have to be paid, presumably.
But of course, and I think the bill for them is somewhere 13,000.
12 or 13,000.
And they're now going to be paid a similar sum to do it again in a different way.
Yes.
It would appear. But the outcome of this process, we probably need for those like yourselves or those who haven't been in the town very long, just a quick summary of,
This is
what happened with the Spa.
Yes, yes.
The Spa suffered war damage, rebuilt. It's sort of an Art Deco type building.
How far back does it go?
It goes all the way back to the beginning when it was sort of a winter gardens. It was a covered area. It had a bandstand. It was the place where entertainment. So it's had a series of different.
And who ran it then? I mean,
it was Felixstowe Urban District
It was
Council.
the Urban
So you can
District
see that
Council.
they used to do the programming. It was a part of the offer of the resort.
This is
basically.
before there was a theatre.
Yes, it became a theatre, and it was run by the initially the Felixstowe Urban District Council.
Yes.
And when those were transferred to the Suffolk Coastal District Council,
Yes.
in, what was that, 1976?
Yes.
Then the responsibility for the Spa transferred to the District Council.
Oh, I see.
They decided about 17 years ago
Yes.
that they weren't up to the job. So what they decided.
So what were they doing with it themselves?
Well, they were running shows. They were running the end of the pier. It was sort of at that time of the threat. No, the creation of the cheap package holidays.
Oh, I see.
And the British seaside holiday was sort of leaking away a bit.
Yes.
So it was that time the district council decided that they would have a much better usage and outcome if it was a private management of the theatre.
Yes.
So they contracted it out on the basis of a 10-year management program to a private company, and they paid them a fixed fee, and everything they made above that they could keep.
Do you know what the fee was?
It was below £200,000.
£200,000.
Yeah.
So in other words, they were getting a fair bit of money. That's
they didn't have to work too hard to make the money.
£4,000 a week to and free premises and free.
Well, I think that's what is really worried a number of our residents and visitors. Really, is how can a building that potentially has so much deliver so little?
Yes.
In that you have a 90-seater theatre.
900.
Sorry, 900. What did I say?
You said 90.
I divided by 10. 900 seats.
Yes. Which isn't a bad-sized theatre.
No, but we'll come on to that. What consultants recently said. But it also has, I think it's something like a 30+ cover restaurant,
Yes.
actually enjoying the best position.
May I just come in there? If you said 30 covers.
No, 30 tables.
Oh, 30 tables.
Yes.
Well, that's okay, because you see, as
So
you know,
yeah, it's at least that. I was just trying to envisage.
Yes, no, well, see, that's 120 covers.
Yeah, it is.
So you see, for a restaurant to pay its way, you've got to have a minimum of 40 covers. So it comes within the restaurant is well within the profitable margin.
It should be.
Should be, yes.
And then at the other end of that, you've got a bar,
yes.
a standalone bar, which perhaps isn't the best designed,
yes.
because it actually obscures what could be a continuing sea view.
Yes.
And you've got a lounge area, which
yes.
would include the restaurant. So
yes.
from a point of view of food and drink
yes.
provision,
yes.
you've got the restaurant,
yes.
you've got the bar,
yes.
and you've got beneath it, to cater to the passing
yes.
tourist and whatever, a ice cream parlour.
Oh, really? No, I've never known there was an ice cream
You
parlour.
wouldn't. It's not very well advertised. It's not been really, you know, they made little of it. But
it's always been open, has it?
Well, I think in my day it's been.
Has it?
So, and they've done a little bit with it by putting some chairs out, making it more.
Yes, yeah. But mind you, let's show the positive
so that would
side.
be a season.
Yes, but to show the positive side, because the council, they're not doing it to do it the worst way. They were trying to help and to get the thing launched and to keep it.
Well, they believed, or one would assume, or those who were there at the time believed, that by privatising its
yes.
operation and whatever, yes. then it would be a
yes.
better community
yes. Yes.
provision.
Yes.
And sadly, it just hasn't happened that way.
It's always very easy to be wise after the event, but at the time, they probably thought they were doing the best for the town.
Yes, but on that basis, having learnt from the fact that that happened for 10 years and it didn't get the desired result,
yes.
the real question is why 6 or 7 years ago they did it again.
Well, they just
repeated the process. Now, those who had been managing it, an outfit called Clear Channel,
yes.
who'd pretty much been using it to sort of showcase their own acts, the makeover acts, you know, the sort of pop groups and that sort of thing.
Oh, yes, yes.
They decided that they weren't interested, so they didn't rebid.
Oh, I see.
So it was a complete set of a new group of bodies
yes,
bid,
yes.
including one from the community.
Really?
Which was actually, from what I saw of it, a credible bid. It was using all the expertise we have in our town, and if we're looking at, we have people who work in the film industry, in the theatre industry.
Yes.
We put on very good amateur productions.
Yes,
so there's a depth and breadth
yes.
here, a lot of which was involved in that bid.
Yes.
And what I found astounding, they were rejected on the basis that they didn't have 3 years accounts.
Oh dear. That's the reason they were rejected.
Yes, but a start-up company can't have 3 years accounts, can it? I mean, how bizarre was that?
Yes,
but what it did, it actually had them, you know, like the Grand National falling at the first hurdle, so they couldn't even be heard.
Yes.
And I found that wasn't in our interest.
But that probably, let's be fair.
But that was the contract terms.
Let's be fair to the council.
Yeah.
They've got to have they've got regulations laid down. They've got to tick the boxes, and if it said that the person's got to have 3 years accounts, the real secret is they've got to find the answer to that.
That's what they've got to do. They've got to work around, look at a trust, because a theatre trust was discussed that long back, and we've never come to that.
You see, on the positive side,
yes.
I've had some very happy memories of the Spa.
Oh,
I've been to some wonderful school shows and dramatic society shows. I've seen some very good single-handed, shows, productions. I've thoroughly enjoyed what I've been to. I haven't been a lot, but the ones I've been to, I've thought, well, this is a wonderful facility.
Well, it is. It's a superb facility.
So tell me, now we've reached a position where presumably these people, even though they were being paid to run it, in effect.
Yeah, the successful applicant for the second privatised running of the theatre was a organisation that runs Chroma Theatre. Very successful. Chroma.
Oh, Chroma. Oh, that's
very successful.
Seaside town up the road.
Absolutely.
Oh, I see. And they run that.
Yeah, they do.
But
profitably.
Why haven't they made a success?
Well, I think we need to ask them because they've been sacked. So we could ask them genuinely and to say what was so different between what the Borough Council and Chroma allowed you to do as to what you weren't allowed to do here.
Now,
Why has it, failed to take off? Because they had a 10-year contract, and that was terminated at 6 and a bit, 7 years.
Now, I'm wondering whether this is something to do with the facilities down there. Now, I've been involved with theatre and what's it all
Yes,
my
you
life,
have.
and the problem lies, I haven't seen a show down there that is using all the standard scenery. You see, the standard size scenery,
Right.
and I made 1 or 2 inquiries, and I understand that the stage down there won't take all the standard scenery.
Highly probable.
This is why the only shows they've had down there are sort of a single star coming and doing
a stand-up
show.
Yeah.
Or you've had groups who don't need all the big facilities of scenery, full-size scenery.
Right.
And is that the reason for it?
Well, it would be a contributory one in that what the council did before, when it decided to move to effective mutual termination of the contract with the current operator, I think probably to ensure that they were legally justified, perhaps, they brought in yet another set of consultants. 2 ladies who actually produced a very illuminating report. And the report seemed to highlight a number of things. Their view was that the size of our theatre puts it between two stools. It's too big for the smaller productions and not big enough for the top line acts. That was a view they expressed. They also expressed the view that the funding that had been available to this organisation over the last 6 years, which was then were underfunded to the tune of about £1 million over that period. That was their view.
Yes.
The bit about the facilities within, I think they would support the view you just expressed. But equally, they did quite a interesting report on the catering, the disconnect between the kitchens and the serving area, and the bar and the actual restaurant offer. The fact that it was tired.
When was this report done?
This was done December last, so a year ago.
I see. So it was on the basis of that report that what happened? Did they sack the ones? Was it the end of the contract?
No, they terminated the contract.
They terminated, although it was.
They gave notice to terminate, and that was allowed.
Was that mid-contract, or was that?
Yes, mid-contract.
So it was terminated mid-contract.
Yeah.
So the council must have known, because it's got the best interests of the town at heart. Let's face it, because it's all made up of local people.
I think the reality. Well, it isn't.
It is, but
our district council is made up of 55 members.
Yes.
And I think, what have we got coming out of Felixstowe? Less than a third of those are out of here and the peninsula. Yes. And within the cabinet, we have but 2 of an 8-man cabinet. So,
but no, what I'm
so the debate is, and
it's always very easy to sort of say this, that, and the other about the council, but you've got to think that those people are working with integrity, and they're trying to do the best with the material they've got to hand.
And the information they have.
And the information.
But the information is predicated on what knowledge you have of the thing you're dealing with.
This is right.
And if you've not lived here or gone there or done it, then you know that your information is second-hand.
Yes. But what I'm trying to get at is, if they terminated a contract mid-contract, there must have been a reason for doing it.
Yes, there was, and the reason was this.
Yes.
All councils have statutory obligations to deliver specific services.
Yes.
In addition to that, over time, some councils have done things that nobody else is doing, and they think that's in the interest of the community.
Yes, yes.
A theatre is not a statutory requirement.
No, I see what you
mean. So
therefore,
the council, sometime previous to this, went out with a sort of a survey of those who bothered to respond as to what particular non-statutory things in the area you lived do you value most, which do you value least.
Yes.
And sadly for the Spar, it came on the least bit. And the reason it came on the least bit is this particular survey was conducted over the whole of the geographical area of Suffolk Coastal, which takes you all the way up to Middleton and Yoxford and whatever. And very few of those travel down here to theatre. They'd probably go to Lowestoft for theatre. So the theatre has failed over the last 17 years to attract in enough people within the district to keep it viable and interested. And that's been the failure. Most of our, and the consultants came out with this figure, a lot of our audience comes from Ipswich. It doesn't even come from our own town, because we haven't been running the type of shows that attract our own community. Now that the product has not been the proper product for a long time.
Yeah, and maybe the reason for that is
the staging.
Yeah,
you could be right.
And the reason I'm saying
we
this
should pursue
is
that.
because the Wolsey Theatre in Ipswich
Yes.
is a great success. I've been there a number of times, always packed solid. You get a job to get seats, and the bar's packed, everything's packed.
Yeah.
And then there's another little theatre, I've never been to it, round behind the town hall. Which one is that?
Well, you've got the John Mills Theatre.
Is it the John Mills Theatre?
And that's sort of down on the Brampton Road.
Yeah, that seems to, you always hear bits and pieces
it
going.
is.
So if Ipswich can support two theatres...
Can I just tell you, the Wolseley did go into failure.
Did it really?
Oh, and it had to be refinanced, resorted. Because, again, the management and the director of the theatre went off in their own self-interested way and didn't run enough popular shows to have bums on seats, and that's exactly what's happened to us. I mean, one thing that came out of the report that I found very interesting, the Regency Theatre in Ipswich, which is supported by the borough.
The Regency Theatre, that's a cinema, isn't it?
No, there's a theatre. If you go back up from there,
yes.
You know where the old town hall is in Ipswich, the top end?
Yes.
There's a theatre there.
Oh, I know the
It's
one.
a big one.
Yes.
That went through...
Of course, I went to a pantomime there.
Yeah,
that's right.
You appeared.
Oh, I did.
You did magic.
I did.
Yes, you did, Eric. You did. Anyway, that went through the similar sort of problems that all theatres go through.
Yes.
With a management that becomes perhaps tired and a bit up itself.
Yes.
You know. They had, again, a stack of consultants who came in, advised them what to do.
Yes.
They followed that.
Yes.
They now, it's still a subsidised theatre, but the cost per seat is far, far less than it was. One of the identified threats to that theatre within the report for the Regent was, if the SPAR was ever to get its act together, that would be the biggest threat to us in the area.
Really?
They view the SPAR and its opportunity
here in Felix,
as being a major threat to them, because it's got such potential, and it's just unrealised.
Well, let's get down to the down to the nitty gritty.
Right.
Now we've got the SPAR. I think the council has always been trying to do its best for the town and for the SPAR, because one's got to view, people don't deliberately go out of their way to do something which
but boarding it up before your season starts can't be the best thing to do. Even if you just put in a caretaker.
This is where I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
So we've reached a position, they've done their best, that they've terminated a contract which everybody agrees was unsatisfactory. It
wasn't delivering.
It wasn't delivering.
No.
So they terminated, which is obviously a good thing to do. Now, the big issue at this present moment is what is happening now? What is going to happen to the SPAR?
Well,
what is the situation?
That's
what we all want to know.
Well, at the cabinet meeting, there had been 2 bids that had been submitted.
So they put out for bids for the SPAR.
Oh, again, this is the second time asking for bids. Please come and take it off our hands and do something with it.
I see, yes.
The only 2 bids that were made to them were bids from 2 community groups.
And which community groups were there?
One was a sort of theatre dance group, and the other one was fundamentally coming out of the pantomime group that was started by Dennis Lowe, that's been running for about 30 odd years.
Basically,
so they were both community groups.
And so they're basically I'm being devil's advocate at the moment. From what you've been telling me, they already are not even in the running, because I doubt if they've got 3 years accounts.
No, they haven't.
So
actually, the Dennis Lowe might, because they've been running the pantomime, so they may be constituted as, I'm not sure whether it's CIC or charity or whatever. So they may be credible. But worse than that, the consultant and others and the officers have sat down, and without any wider public opinion, has deemed their bids not to be sustainable. Okay. So they were rejected.
So in other words, they
end up with no bids.
They found boxes which aren't ticked. So now, what are the proposals for the SPAR? That's what we want to know.
So what you're saying is the boxes that are not ticked
Yes.
What nobody knows is what boxes failed to be.
Well, that's exactly.
So it doesn't really help the community.
No.
What we do need, and I mean, you have been in business all your life.
Yes.
You accept commercial confidentiality,
Yes.
but there is a point when that should really relate specifically to money,
Yes.
not to principles, not to what's required.
Yes. Yes.
That should be in the public
Yes.
domain,
Yes.
and everybody should be aware of what is it we're looking
But you see,
to have delivered.
unfortunately, in this day and age,
We're-
we have got into this syndrome.
There's no transparency.
No, you've got this situation that everybody's got to conform to certain standards. I mean, I rang up my bank
Yes,
and they wouldn't speak to me unless I remembered a 4-figure code.
right.
And at my age, I can't remember a 4-figure code. So
No,
they wouldn't
I know.
speak to me. They said, you'll have to go into the local branch
Yeah.
and with identification. So we've reached that bit of nonsense.
Well,
Do you know
sadly
what I
we
mean?
have.
They
Eric,
could have
yeah.
asked me personal questions. I've been with the bank for 50 years.
That's what
You know,
annoys you, doesn't it? The fact that you have been a long
but
and
the
loyal
same
member of
principle isn't just being applied to the spa.
It's
It
across the
applies
piece.
across the whole
Yes,
thing.
that's
So
true.
what I'm trying to get at, because we must do it before, at this present moment,
Right, the state of play is this.
the council has done its best, and with no criticism of the council.
Right, the
They've
council,
tried to,
at
according to the politics of the moment, and conforming to their requirements.
Okay, what we've got at the cabinet meeting
Yes.
were 5 options
Yes.
within the scheme.
Yes.
And as you say, they have been confined on the first round of
Yes,
this
yes.
by the contract
Yes.
rules that they had to apply. It was indicated that the second round,
Yes.
the council would be at liberty to assist community groups
Yes.
to put forward better
That's
schemes.
good, isn't
So,
it?
yeah,
Yes.
but did it happen? Because they've been rejected.
I see. Yes.
I mean, have they assisted them in the degree that it would be rejected? Surely somebody at some point,
this is-
if there was the on-tick box or boxes,
Yes.
what were they?
So what is?
So what's happened now is that they are now going to pay this this consultant
Yes.
yet another £12,000-13,000
Yes.
to do another series of ringing up friends. Hey Jim, you interested in this place here on the East Coast? Ish. So they are supposedly remarketing.
So what is
again,
the remit?
But
What
with,
is the remit?
well,
of the
apparently
consultant?
it is not necessarily a theatre. It's virtually, I mean, some of the members seem to view it was anything can go for the site, including demolition, and leave it as a part of the garden.
Oh, I see. So in other
So that's
words,
quite fearful, really.
that would be a bit fearful, wouldn't it?
Now, what I have heard
So
is,
we don't know anything now until we get this next report.
well, what we do know is that the 2 groups who were the only ones who made a bid previously,
Yes.
I understand they're combining their efforts
Oh, I see. And making.
to make a joint bid.
Oh, I see.
But what
So the
I
bid-
really
the bids
want,
aren't closed yet. Then, in effect,
they haven't even
They
started.
haven't even started.
No, because,
So, once this
this is
consultant has issued his report, presumably.
no, they've already got that. So they're now in the next. They've just been authorised to spend this further money with the consultant
Yes.
to start another sort of role of, is anybody interested?
Oh, I see. Yes.
And
So I was asking for a new series of bids for the
yeah,
start.
we're with the
particular-
the protective parameters that were there,
Yes.
very much loosened
Yes.
to the degree of demolition,
Yes.
which didn't exist before.
So if a developer came, I'm looking at the worst possible
Yes.
situation. So if a developer came along and said, I'll give you some vast sum of money so we can demolish everything, put up a huge block of flats, is that a possibility?
Well, they indicated that that wouldn't be, but sadly, you and I know the way the planning law has been going recently. I wouldn't rule
But they've
anything.
indicated it's not.
I
So
would.
that-
I wouldn't rule anything in or out.
Yes,
to be
no,
quite
but,
honest.
but on the face of it, at the present moment, that's ruled out, is it?
Well, I think there was. Did somebody mention a nightclub or something? I'm not sure whether that
don't know.
might be a possibility. It's like a lot of these things. It's sort of not totally clear
Yes.
as what are the 5 options, but it was to give as wide a brief as possible
Yes.
to the estate agent stroke consultant
Yes.
to go forward to drum up some interest. Now, the time frame I understood for that from the cabinet member responsible was 10 to 12 weeks. They would hope to
From
come
now?
back from now.
Yes.
Would hope to come back in front of the cabinet
Yes.
with some series of bids. Now,
So
the local
this is July or August, then.
looks that way.
So we're going to miss the complete season. basically.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yes, yes.
Why wasn't it practical
Yeah.
to have at least kept the bar and the restaurant
Yes.
running through a summer season? I mean, coming from the seaside in the
Yes,
county, I
yes,
come
yes.
from South Devon.
Yes.
Virtually all of my life, whether it was in Germany, the Middle East, I've always lived
Yes.
by the beach. Oddly,
Yes.
unfortunately, your peak time is the season,
But now,
and you owe your money in.
Time is running a bit
Is it
short.
really?
Yes.
Oh dear.
Yes. So what I want you to do is to tell us at this present moment.
Yes.
What can the man in the street, me, everybody who's viewing, what can we do to help the matter on?
Well, I think what we should do as a community television station,
yes,
is find out representatives from the groups that have already, got
yes,
themselves together and made a bid, are now looking to strengthen that bid.
Yes.
So what we really need to know, and I don't know whether they know, and this is the big problem, was on what grounds were their previous separate bids rejected on sustainability? What was the basis? Was it financing? Was it lack of expertise? Was it personnel? Was it not the ability to maintain the building? Until they know what they were rejected on, they can't strengthen their bid. So if there's anybody out there who's got particular expertise in catering, bar management, property management, show production, I mean, when you look at the whole business plan needed for a successful, because it's not just a theatre, is it?
Yes.
It's a theatre, restaurant, bar, ice cream parlour.
Should really be franchised out to 4 different people.
All
experts in their own.
And that's what you would do, wouldn't you?
Oh yes, yes.
I mean, you'd get somebody.
Private landlord, I would do them all up and find the 4 best people to run each individual one. But this is only just my own private.
So you wouldn't be inclined to sort of have a building that's been deteriorating and just put it up there and hope somebody might come along?
That's the last thing.
Well, you make the least return on it.
You want to maximise your profits, maximise your returns, and if you've got to spend a little bit to start with, well, you have to spend a little bit to start.
Now, the bit you mentioned about getting sets of a particular standard size into the theatre, what sort of cost would it be to do that?
Well, how do I know? I don't know. But it could be quite expensive because it means that you've got to be able to raise the scenery, get it in and out. There's got to be the facilities, the big shows that go round, and a 900-seater is quite adequate for most of the shows.
I would have thought so.
But the whole point I want to try and say is, at this present moment, you mentioned that there was a member of the cabinet who's responsible.
Yes.
Now, is it possible that we perhaps get him in and ask his views?
Absolutely.
So I'm going to ask you to do that because I'm afraid we're running out of time now.
Are we? Okay.
And I'm going to say, I hope that's. I feel as though I know a lot more about the spa now, which I didn't, thanks to Michael, and we'll all look forward to seeing what's going to happen now. In 3 months' time, there'll be new bids for the spa. Let's hope that this wonderful facility will continue for the benefit of this lovely town. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.